Dhammarut. Throughout the time that we spend together here, may you determine to train yourself, depending on the postures of walking meditation, and rhythmic meditation while sitting. Move your hands and arms as has been instructed, and see and be aware of getting up, walking, sitting, and other movements of the body in the various postures. Fix on awareness, build up awareness and stay with awareness a lot. Be aware when your mind thinks of this and that and goes to other objects, because it will abandon the watching and seeing of the present, existing posture. Know how to put down thoughts and moods, pull yourself away, and come back to watch and see the movements of the body. Train yourself to be skilled at this point. Establish awareness properly. Take this way of practicing to be your work, depending on this body as the base. See Rupa moving and see Nama moving. These actions, of body and mind, are kama, intentional. Train to see the basics of life. The first aspect of life that we will really see is Rupa and Nama. See it like this. Know which part is Rupa and which part is Nama. Rupa is this body of ours, that moves to and fro in the various postures, such as walking and sitting. Nama is feeling and thought, that which orders the body to move this way and that. It orders one to love, to be angry, to be delighted and to be sad. It orders one to go here and there. All of that is the state of Nama. All of it is a movement of the mind. This is called Nama acting. In reality, to get to see Rupa Nama and to be able to differentiate between them, takes rather a long time. This is because our minds are used to thinking, they are used to being carried away by moods. Whatever object arises, completely takes one in, a thought of anger arises and one becomes angry, whatever one indulges in, one gets overwhelmed by. But as soon as we fix on being within limits and establish awareness, those moods that used to be so powerful, now express a reaction. Some people do walking meditation for a little while and get sleepy. Some people practice the rhythmic meditation and become restless, their minds go all over the place. They struggle hard and feel uncomfortable, burdened, they have headaches and tight feelings in the chest. There are these troublesome things that come up all the time, they are obstacles. Understand this to be ordinary. Don't be annoyed, uncomfortable and burdened by those various manifestations. Establish awareness, hold on to awareness well. Whatever states or conditions arise during the practice of meditation, recognize them, see them. Have crystal clear awareness. Recollect what your main duty is. It is to cultivate awareness, and to see the body as it is moving in its present posture. This is the foundation. As for thought or any moods that come to interfere, regard that as ordinary, take that to be objects that change according to the habits of the mind, that hasn't yet been trained. All right, when it arises, but our main duty is to establish sati. Be aware, arouse awareness in order to see the body, always see the states, conditions, and whereabouts of the body, as it is moving about as clearly as possible. Know how to put down thoughts and moods that are, continuously, changing, don't let them be obstacles. This point right here, might be a big issue for some, and not a big deal for others. Characteristics and conditionings tend to vary according to previously accumulated habits. Sometimes the thoughts and moods that interfere are quite powerful. They might make one's mind think in line with them, until one is fooled and forgets oneself. The mind wanders away, it gets really fascinated with those things. Never mind. When we realize it, and are newly aware, be careful. Come back to fix on awareness and keep on practicing. The state of the mind wandering off and lacking awareness, the mind feeling uncomfortable and burdened, arises a lot when we first set out to train ourselves to develop awareness. It is the same for everyone. Because, originally, we are used to thinking all sorts of things according to our own untrained minds. Therefore, it is going against the stream of our old habits to try and establish and arouse awareness. So, it is ordinary that there are various obstacles. In the beginning, we must depend on devotion, and put forth a lot of effort to train and establish awareness, so that one gains awareness. Be determined to make effort with walking meditation and sitting, doing the rhythmic meditation. Make movements with the body and train a lot to be aware. Never mind if the mind loses awareness, and thinks of this and that 100 or 1000 times. Regard yourself as somebody who is still new at the training. Inspire yourself. Try and do the best you can. Keep establishing awareness consistently. When you lose it, you start again, you lose it again and you start once more. The state of delusion and forgetting often, and then being able to re-establish awareness, makes one begin to be able to differentiate, and one gets to know what one's heart and one's real character are like. One begins to understand how to adjust one's own mind to be aware. One knows how to put down changing thoughts and moods. These experiences teach one to re-establish sati faster and clearer. Awareness becomes more and more prominent, as long as one tries and puts forth effort. We now begin to really discern our states of mind, the states that are conditioned by thoughts and moods, and the state that is governed by awareness. We have more ability to know our own moods in time. And there is more awareness as well as awakeness. The conditions, of feeling uncomfortable and oppressed, of doubt and confusion, of restlessness and giddiness, and of feeling fed up, that used to be there, gradually begin to fade out, with each moment that our sati sampajanya begins to awaken more and more. Until finally, when we really have aroused awareness, and a sense of being awake firmly, we see the existing rupa and nama clearly. That's it. We now get to know about life. We get to know suffering, dukkha, the suffering of rupa and nama. We will understand that rupa or the body is a lump of suffering. It consists of parts that are always moving and changing. One really sees the unfolding of the various states, conditionings, and processes of the body clearly. Breathing is suffering, it is a conditioning, it is dukkha, it is an ordinary state that happens by itself. Swallowing saliva, blinking the eyes, opening the mouth, eating, lying down, taking a shower, putting on clothes and so on, is all dukkha. They are ordinary conditionings of the body, that happen by themselves. Most people have never seen the states of the body, and the course that it takes, according to reality, like this. And then, through ignorance, we create another kind of suffering to mess up our lives, namely nama dukkha. Nama that we have not trained yet, nama that thinks according to what one likes, wants, and desires, nama that is still full of attachment, concocting up thoughts and views based on a self. This is another kind of suffering that we don't know about yet. This is a kind of suffering that is something unfortunate in our lives, that we have never studied or tried to understand. This nama has never been trained, has never treated rupa, nor one's own life fairly. But as soon as we see, train, and refine ourselves, and we know how to arouse and establish awareness, waking ourselves up, the very quality of sati acts as the judge. It is the most honest court. The kind of suffering that doesn't arise from dukkha, from the natural state of the body, awareness discerns it. Awareness brings it to a halt. Nobody can stop dukkha, the ways of the body and of life. Those states just happen, we have to be aware of those conditions, to acknowledge, deal with them and look after them, so that there is a state of normality and happiness for as far as conditions allow. But the suffering that is due to thought, that is due to nama, that is due to all kinds of wants and desires, is a state that is something untoward. It arises because of our thinking and our beliefs. This is what awareness sees. It stops and pacifies that kind of thinking. Awareness knows how to put down and pull oneself away from thoughts, in those circumstances. Awareness really acts as the judge because when one is aware and awakened, it really treats rupa and nama, and one's mind, fairly. One's life begins to be different from how it used to be. Before, one used to be a slave of moods and desires, and one used to fall in the trap of thought all the time. Thoughts, speech, and all actions used to be dictated by moods, by one's own character, every moment, every time. But now the time has come to wake up and establish awareness. Our body then has more freedom, one doesn't have to be under the power of desire anymore. Like if one was addicted to cigarettes and betel nut, and used to roam around and booze. One has been a slave all the time of desires, to have and be on the sensual plane. As soon as one is awakened through sati, one abandons that sort of behavior at once. Awareness knows how to differentiate and it knows how to properly reflect, it really sees things. Oh, this clearly is suffering. How could I indulge in those things and be such a fool? The things that one used to wallow in and be intoxicated with, really drop off our minds. There is no more desire for cigarettes, betel nuts, and booze. One completely does away with those things. For example, myself, I used to be someone who believed in superstition and I trained myself, until I was an occult healer. I used to calculate auspicious occasions. I had all sorts of amulets and whatnot, a complete mess. Before I could go to sleep I had to recite all kinds of verses and chants. My room was full with sacred and holy objects. Flowers, incense, blessed water and so on. I used to chant incantations for at least an hour. Whenever I traveled somewhere I had to figure out the omens. What time to set out, in what direction etc. Going to the forest, I first protected myself from fierce animals with spells. There was really a lot of stuff. And then I met Luangpor Teean. I trained to develop awareness with him at the Budayana Forest, Loi Province, in 1966. For a full month I trained and strove, before I was able to establish awareness and arouse a state of being awake. The various things that I used to think about, believed in, and practiced by way of different ceremonies dropped off. They really dropped off me. Sati was crystal clear and I realized, oh, it really is because of thought, and my own firm belief that I indulged in those kind of views for many years. I was really going over the top at that time. Now I knew how to be aware, how to train and strive, doing walking meditation and rhythmic meditation. I practiced in the same way as you are doing here now. I trained in awareness, I trained and trained. From being carried away through thoughts and moods, I gradually became more aware and awake, awareness became more clear by itself. After there had been an upsurge of being aware and awake, I felt that my life had revived and strengthened, it was really more dynamic. I felt that my mind was happy and at ease. Many conditions certainly were more distinct than before. It felt like a mountain or a heavy weight, that had been weighing down my mind for ages had been lifted off my life, almost completely. I understood what old people meant when they said, heaven is in the heart, hell is in your own mind. This took on a profound meaning for me. Awareness stood out. It felt as if being aware and awake happened by itself. I didn't have to support it as much as when I first started out. Whatever I thought, said, did, the movements of the body, doing walking meditation, I really did all of it with awareness. I saw states, processes, and the proceedings of the things I thought and did, in a refined way. Regarding the thoughts and beliefs that I used to cling to, moods of love, like, anger and delusion, in fact, they didn't disappear from the mind in one go. It just felt that they had diminished a lot. They were not powerful, they were no longer the boss like before, when I couldn't establish awareness yet. Desire and ambition were still there, latent. They still showed their faces, once in a long time. Sometimes I would still think about this and that, without awareness. Even though I could establish awareness, and was well aware and awake, I still felt that I didn't have complete freedom from love, like, anger and delusion. Luangpor Teean warned to be careful of those things, to be careful of thought, and to be careful of the defilements of a practitioner of insight meditation, namely, being stuck on refined states of mind, such as too much joy, too much delight, too much peace and coolness, stuck on images that would appear, stuck on knowledge of this and that. All these things one should be careful of and not heedless, forgetting oneself and being fooled by them. And so I had to put forth more effort, but I felt that it wasn't as difficult and burdensome as in the beginning. This latter part of the practice could be called working with the mind. For the method I still use the posture of moving the body as a base. This is the sign for fixing on awareness. But now I felt more at ease. I would do the walking meditation in a leisurely fashion, and I would move the hands and arms in a relaxed and agile way. I was aware and saw the existing states and conditions of the body. The movements were very clear. There was no laziness or feelings of wanting to quit. There was no boredom, no uncomfortable feelings or dissatisfaction. And there was no confusion as before, at the beginning. But there were some occasions that my mind thought about things. It would reflect and analyze certain matters. These states would arise on their own. This would complicate things. Some of the things that I would think about I felt were important. For example, I would explain the Dhamma, in my mind, to someone I cared for, such as my friends or my family. Sometimes I would investigate and try to find an answer to a Dhamma question. I felt that each matter that I reflected on was important. And so, at times I would forget and just get caught up in thinking. The various thoughts that would appear at times were old habits. They were cankers flowing outward, asava, they were manifestations of views and opinions, they were thoughts and beliefs in various forms of myself. They would spring up sometimes. Therefore, during the time that one is working with the mind, and one sees the states of mind, and one's own thinking, one really needs to be aware and awake and to be able to establish awareness. One has a perspective. No matter what one is thinking about, and no matter how important it may seem, always be aware clearly and see those conditions arising. When one is careless and thoughts come up, and even when one starts to think, see it and know it in time. But don't be careless and get mixed up in thinking, and let it turn into an issue, to the point one completely forgets oneself. We must take awareness as our perspective. Awareness should always stand out. Then, one can really let go and put down those images, without grasping or paying attention to them. Always come back to being aware. Regardless of how powerful, delightful, or awful thoughts may be, establish awareness and make it into a foundation. When thoughts arise, let them be there, but, see their characteristics. Just be clearly aware and don't get mixed up with thought. Neither encourage nor obstruct thoughts. Do it like this. Hold on to this principle. It won't be long and those thoughts will stop on their own. They will fade and disappear by themselves. They will turn into rising images. Just watch, see, and know their temporary rising and passing. In the end, awareness will still be as stable and prominent as it originally was. Actually, the method here is the same as when we first trained to establish awareness. The only difference is that, in the beginning of our training in the development of awareness, we put emphasis on establishing awareness, on breaking through the encirclement of the various objects, and so we give emphasis to focusing on the movements of the body. We do this exclusively in order to have a foundation, or sign in training in the setting up of awareness. We create awareness because in the beginning of our training, states of mind and mood still have power. We are still accustomed to thinking, and this gives rise to some kind of mood that we are familiar with from the past. So we are not yet interested in watching and seeing thought, as we are in the later stages of working with the mind, because one who is not able to establish awareness is like someone without a place to stand. One easily loses one's footing and slips. When we watch thought or powerful moods, we get drawn into feelings of like and dislike, we tend to get carried away with things that look as if they're easy to watch. We can't yet differentiate between the object and awareness. Even though we know and see that we experience a certain condition, we are still not able to give it up and put it down. For this reason, one is taught to make effort with one aim, namely to train in order to be able to establish awareness, to be aware and awake, to be ready, including all things. This is the priority. Make use of the postures and movements of the body as signs and exercises to train in focusing on awareness. No need to be very concerned with thought or your state of mind. When we get to the point where we have established awareness, the mind is awake and we have a perspective on life, that's it. Now we have the ability to face thought, to see the mind, to see the stream of our own thinking in a straightforward way, without our mind slipping and sliding, getting caught up in thoughts. Therefore, only someone who knows how to set up awareness will be successful in working with the mind, someone who arouses both awareness and a sense of being awake. This period is important for getting to know oneself in a straightforward manner. One comes to know how to let go and put down one's moods, thoughts, beliefs, and conceited opinions, really becoming absolutely free. What kind of character and disposition did we used to have? What kind of things did we think about and believe in? To what extent did we have moods of love, anger, and delusion? We will really see our mind states, clearly as they occur, in a simple way. From the conditionings of mind that come up in thoughts, turning into moods, issues, and various matters, periodically or momentarily, Yanadasana, knowledge and vision, arises, one really gets to know oneself. Oh, this is how I think, I get angry this much, this is what I believe in. One will see conditions one by one, according to the thoughts that appear momentarily, relying on the perspective of life, the main principle, knowing how to establish awareness, being in control with awareness and being awake. The mind doesn't flow and comply with the moods and thoughts. Wisdom knowledge will arise within us, and we will be able to reflect and differentiate between desires and reality. We will know how to let go, we will know how to put down thoughts, put down delusion, put down images and moods that proliferate. We can pull ourselves out of thoughts and beliefs we used to cling to, and were firmly convinced of. Clinging is loosened and one returns to awareness that has never been so striking before. Views and opinions of all sorts get demolished more and more, one after the other. And in the end our minds are made smooth. Our minds don't go back to creating suffering and problems through concoction anymore. It has all been demolished. Proliferating thoughts, sankhara, that used to be so powerful and used to create heavy suffering in our lives and our families, are finally done with, their poison is really gone. Life is smooth. One is able to conduct one's life with intuitive awareness, sati sampajanya, as the prominent factor. One is able to be creative and perform one's duties and obligations as one should. One is calm, composed and endowed with discretion. One is able to reflect and discriminate A from B. One is really absolutely free and independent. Well, what I've said today was an introduction, and a pointing to a line of practice to train oneself. I have made known the teachings of the Buddha and done the duty of a Buddhist. I have done what a bhikkhu, monk, should do. There is the saying of the Buddha, Arogaya Paramalabha, being free from disease is the greatest gain. This refers to what I've been talking about, it refers to our lives, it refers to this method of practice. In the old days, the monks would go all over the country, and propagate the teachings on the end of suffering in the marketplace, or wherever many people would gather. It is the highest gain. It is eternal life. I think that I have performed my duty in a complete way, and have satisfied the request of the abbot of this monastery. This talk was given in a branch monastery in the south. May all of you, who have lent an ear, take up what has been said for contemplation, and put the various reflections and perspectives into practice. Determine to train and cultivate yourself, so that you will attain the paths and fruits of practice according to your aspirations. The art of knowing directly. I bow to the Triple Gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. I pay respects to the senior monks and all my colleagues in the Dhamma. May all lay practitioners prosper in the Dhamma. You've come here to listen to words. If you remember the words having listened to them, then you will receive something that is fake. But it is necessary to speak and teach. Talking in order to give rise to knowledge and memory is easy, it's easy to teach and understand. There are teachers all over the place. All of us sitting here now, at a monastery where a retreat is held, have knowledge of good and bad, of right and wrong. Everybody knows that. For example, we know that anger and suffering are no good. We know that, but we still suffer and still have anger. Now, in real teaching we have to teach ourselves, we have to teach ourselves to really understand. We might learn some things from others, it will make it easier to remember, but real teaching we have to do ourselves. In talking today we are all friends, spiritual friends. On this occasion we all become fellow practitioners, so that we can meditate and practice together. This is a good thing and it is right. In real teaching we have to teach ourselves. Even talking and listening are practices in themselves, practices in developing awareness. Don't be united in anything other than developing awareness. Be aware, pure awareness. Be aware in a straight and direct way, straight and direct sati. Feel the body directly, in a straight way. Be fully aware, don't let there be anything in front or behind. This is called really teaching oneself. Let awareness move around, let it be with the body, with rupa. And let awareness see the mind. When there are thoughts, don't prevent or obstruct anything, give awareness the full opportunity to see. As for the body, know directly and straightly, know purely. Use and search for whatever ways that makes you have awareness within your body. Make it direct and straight, know immediately. But some people don't do it like this. Before, I was the same myself, I didn't know directly and straightly. I reserved it and knew other things and there were thoughts. Why do we do it like this? One goes and uses reasoning, figuring out what is right and what is wrong. Like this is right. There is like and dislike. Why do we practice like that? What's the point of knowing this and that? For example, when we are aware, we ask ourselves, am I aware or not? Is this sati or not? Is this kind of knowing, awareness? Or is it thought? Sometimes we're thinking, and we don't know what awareness is, and so there is a division all the time. Reasoning and perceptions of right and wrong come to interfere with practice, and so one doesn't practice fully. No, 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 be aware. When you start off practicing you shouldn't use reasoning and think about what is right and wrong. Don't do it like that. Know directly, using whatever method that makes you be aware of either the body or the mind. Don't concentrate. Don't think about right and wrong before you experience right and wrong, don't think about being and seeing before you actually are and see. That's not it. It is wrong when something is wrong, it's right when something is right, you are when you are, and you see when you see. Be aware directly, don't concentrate and don't use reasoning. You shouldn't think, from now on there is no need to think. When there is awareness of the body and the mind for a long period, seeing automatically occurs. This is not called thinking, it is called discrimination, Dhammavidyaya, or orderly reflection, Yoniso manasikara, it differentiates and wisdom knowledge or wisdom arises by itself. This is called practicing directly, for example we raise the arm or we turn up the hand, just know it directly. Feel your arm moving, feel your hand moving, feel the movements. Actually, this method that we're practicing was different before, in the past it was not practiced as we do now. But Luangpor Teean adapted it, making it more practical. In the past it was called the method moving stopping, in Thai, Ting Ning. One would put the hands on the knees, turn up the hand and think or inwardly recite, moving, Ting, and when a movement would come to an end, stopping, Ning, Ting, Ning, Ting, Ning. They would use it like a mantra, a word to keep reciting mentally. This is not direct, it's not straight. There are still these words that obstruct the immediate experience of the movements. Luangpor Teean developed this method by not having any recitation, just feeling directly, being aware without using words, just feeling. Doing it like this, one knows, knows, knows. The characteristic of feeling is to know specifically, but it is not a poking kind of knowing. One knows, 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 knows. Luangpor demonstrates it at the same time, know like this, don't fix on things. Some people know in a concentrated way, they concentrate and follow the movements, this makes awareness into something with a time span, whereas awareness should be momentary, moment by moment by moment. Doing it like that, it becomes into a practice in tranquility meditation, which it should not be. That may well make one feel uncomfortable and discontented, or stiff in the chest area, sleepy or all tense. To know directly is to know in a cheerful and clear way. Knowing, knowing. In one sequence of movements one knows 14 times. This is pure knowing. Don't let there be any separation, let the quality of knowing really contact the body. Let them really come into contact with each other. When one knows in this way, one will become skilled, one will become skilled for sure. When there is experience, 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 for example our hand often comes into contact with something, we are bound to become skilled. I used to be a little bit of an artist as a musician. It is an art in itself to contact with one's fingers the holes of a flute or the hammer of a xylophone. The fingers contact the holes of the flute and the most melodious sound is brought out. But when we push too hard it is a kind of concentration and the sound will not be as good. If we go and count the holes in the flute we can't play well, because the finger movements have to be just right in order to produce the right tone. Being aware and contacting the body directly and straightly, is an art. There is no need for reasoning, know in a pure way. Know in a sober and clear way. When you really make contact with the feeling it is an art, you will be skilled in it, and you will know crystal clear. To really contact and feel the body is not just ordinary knowing, it is development in itself. We might compare it to having a livelihood, when we're not doing it right we waste a lot of energy. When we know the movements through reasoning, through concentrating or by forcing ourselves, then we waste lots of energy. Some people put forth effort, doing both the formal practice of sitting and walking meditation, and their faces go all sour, they're all tensed up, that's too heavy. When we do it in the right way it is not heavy, rather, it is light, comfortable and we feel cheerful. Doing it like that one tends to forget the time. But some people force themselves too much, that's neither straight nor direct. Awareness is happiness and justness from the beginning, it sorts things out for us by itself, and it makes one feel and recollect clearly, step by step. Be in the middle, watch inside as well as outside, don't go in, don't go out. When I was a kid, I used to go with my mother to plant melons and beans. When the rains would start and my mother would plant the seeds, she used to say, if people eat it, it is merit, if birds eat it, it's a gift, if birds eat it, it is merit, if people eat it, it's a gift. This attitude makes one feel at ease. But without this attitude, we may do things thinking this way and that about making a profit or making a loss. This is wasting energy. Sometimes we even count the days, I've practiced so many days already, and I still don't have any knowledge. Some people do know, it's so easy for them. One gets bogged down in thought like this and one cooks things up. The result is that it is our thinking, our delusion that is practicing Dhamma. We practice but we still get deluded. We know and then we don't know, we stay with the knowing and then we are without the knowing, we're doing it wrong and then we do it right. When one is caught up in thought, how is one going to see thought? It is like being inside a cave. When I first started to practice, Luangpor Teean told me to go inside my hut and said, close the door. It's closed, Luangpor. He asked, Do you see outside? I don't. What do you do in order to see inside as well as outside? Open the door, Luangpor. All right, open the door. I opened the door and stood in the middle of the entrance. Luangpor Teean asked, do you see outside? I said yes. Do you see inside? Yes. This is the way to do it like this. Having said that, he disappeared. What does it mean? It means to know directly. Don't be caught up in thought, don't go for it, don't be it. Don't be the one who is wrong or right, the one who gets or doesn't get. If it is like that, it's like there is a screen preventing us from seeing, there is no directness, no straightness. There is no openness and nothing is revealed. Just awareness, not wanting, not being. Try it out, knowing directly. Take one step at a time. Know directly, don't figure out what is right and wrong, don't go for attaining and not attaining, there is nothing to attain, there is nothing to not attain. There is nothing right and there is nothing wrong. If there is just pure awareness, there is no right and wrong, there is no knowing, and there is no not knowing, there is only just pure awareness. Give awareness the full opportunity. Just as with planting rice, if we don't plant it well, it won't come up. It's the same with chilies, eggplants, and fruits, they need to be planted properly. But if we know how to plant these things, it will be just right and there will be a balance, the roots will sprout and the plants will establish themselves. If we plant them in the wrong way, the roots won't flourish and they may break, the wind blows and they shake about. We have to keep replanting them, and the end result is that they don't grow well. Try it out. I'm teaching you, so that you will practice, I'm not talking just to give you information. We have come here and so we must try and practice. Practice directly and straightly. At one time I returned from Singapore, and I stopped over at Hat Yai, south of Thailand. Somebody brought a Westerner to see me. This Westerner said in a straightforward way, there is no need to teach me anything, just tell me what to do. I know many things already, so it's better to tell me what to do rather than to teach me things. What do you think of that? I feel that that is very good. So I told him how to start. Karma means action. It means to feel. Do you know the movement of turning up the hand? Do you know the movement of raising the arm? No, no, and no. I had him practice like this for half an hour, and after that I showed him how to do walking meditation. Know every step that you walk. Whenever he took a step, I knocked him with my hand on his arm, no like this, no like this. Knowing, knowing, feeling. I had him walk for half an hour and then called him over, and let him do the rhythmic meditation in the sitting position again. He got into contact with sati, with awareness of the body. I asked him, just now, you were aware of the body, did your mind think of other things? No. One is right here, one knows right here. Have you ever known like this for a long time, let's say for a whole day? Never. What about 1 hour? No, never. He just learned about this now. This is how I taught. This point is the point that we, as Thai Buddhists, are lacking in. We are not lacking at other points, it is this point. This is the point where Buddhism comes into being. The Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha arise right here, that is to say their qualities. We have to give rise to them right here, this is their birthplace, the birthplace of the state of being Buddha that knows, that goes in and knows. Don't destroy this state. And so we have opportunities, we have places such as this one, it is not as if we practice because it is the fashion. We don't advertise that we do anything else. To perform rites and rituals, make merit and offerings and so on is not the right way. To do it right in line with real awareness one has to practice like this. We have to spur each other on to practice, to live like this. The activities of Buddhism have to start off with this method, we can't deny it. We need places and the environment, and we have to persuade each other to come and practice like this. In the mornings and evenings, there are Dhamma talks as well as practice. This gives good encouragement. And so we come together to practice in this style. What I'm saying now is not for memory, it is for practice. Putting it into practice in our bodies and minds, coming into contact with ourselves. When I use the word sati, we know, we feel it at the same time that we hear it. The things I talk about exist in us, they are there, in all of us. The more I talk, the more we see ourselves. What do we see? We see what I'm talking about. For example, feeling, we all feel, even when we don't do anything in particular. When we are skilled, we don't necessarily have to make movements with the hands and arms, we just sit there. Feelings are there already, the blinking of the eyes can be felt, breathing can be felt. The quality of knowing that knows the blinking of the eyes, is feeling, it is sati. The quality of knowing that knows breathing, is feeling, is sati. Even when we don't do anything special, there is awareness, no matter where we are, even when we just sit there, there is awareness. Spiritual friends, inner sages, the paths and fruits of practice. May the words I speak be your spiritual friend, Kalyana Mitta, awareness is our spiritual friend. Associate with these things, associate with the sages. I don't mean to associate with this or that person, that is good also, those are the external sages, but the real sage is within, awareness. Try to associate with awareness for 7 days. To know directly and straightly is called, associating with the sages. Do you see that? When the Buddha expounded the first discourse, Dhammajjokhappavatthana Sutta, to the group of 5 disciples, the Brahmin Gondhanyo, opened his Dhamma eye, reached the first stage of enlightenment. He was the first monk disciple of the Buddha. A few days later, the other 4, Vappa, Padya, Mahanama and Asachi, also opened their eyes. The Buddha pointed to and talked about, the 2 extreme modes of practicing which should not be followed through, Kamesu Gama Sukali Kana Yogo, and Athahiki Lamatana Yogo. The path is the middle way, the path for the mind to walk, the path of the mind is called, Magga. Magga or the path, is this awareness. Awareness or the quality of watching, of seeing, of knowing, is called the path. Whoever is always aware is walking the spiritual path. The path is a vehicle, it is as if one rides in a vehicle that leads one onwards. As the Buddha mentioned the path, Gondhanyo was practicing in awareness. Finally, the Buddha presented the Anathalakkana Sutta, the discourse on the characteristic of not-self, as follows. Is form permanent? Answer, no, it isn't. Does something that is impermanent have value or not? It doesn't. Should something that is quality-less be clung to, as a self or oneself? Obviously not. This way of teaching by the Buddha, by inquiring, is not telling people, rather, people see for themselves. This is teaching in order to see, in actual fact, one teaches oneself. Another person can teach one to know, but in order to be, one has to teach oneself. Can you do it now? Do you have awareness within your body yet? Try again. When walking, feel it, feel it. Sometimes thoughts come up. What do you do when that happens? Well, be aware. Be aware. Focus. Know the body, as it is moving. When there is awareness, are there still thoughts coming up? Can you solve the problem this way? Can you change thoughts into awareness? You can. As soon as awareness arises, the thoughts stop. So, know the movements of the body well. A thought comes up one time and one knows, the body, one time. This knowing is the right way to teach oneself. Teach yourself often. The more thoughts the better. But some people are interested whether the thoughts are right or wrong. They think that thinking is wrong. On thinking, see the thought, there is no right or wrong, there is just seeing, seeing thought, knowing thought. As soon as one feels that there is a thought, everything comes to an end. On seeing thought, skill arises. The state of seeing thought, seeing it often, is an art. It is like seeing somebody's face. When you see somebody for the first time, you might forget again, but when you see somebody many times you become familiar. This not just ordinary knowing, you know his or her character, what kind of person this is, whether you should connect with him or her or not. Some people see thought, and think that it is wrong. When a thought pops up, it's wrong. This is wrong understanding. That's not right. This is similar to that time, that I was up at the monastery on top of the hill at Bohom village, Luangpor Teean's village, in my early days of practice. Luangpor Teean wanted me to stay there at that time. There were many people practicing. I was doing walking meditation with another monk. He was lower than me because it was a hill. When he got tired he sat down, and then I heard these strange slapping noises, pat, pat. He slapped his own head with his slippers. I walked over and asked, "What are you doing?" He said, "The mind thinks all the time, I don't know why, it's crazy." This is not seeing thought anymore, he got caught up in it for sure. He was punishing himself for it. Doing it like this is to go in the wrong direction. It is like planting rice and pulling it out again, they won't take root, there won't be results. Therefore, when thought arises, don't consider it to be good or bad, just see it directly. Thought is useful, we'll get to see it. There is nothing wrong with it. Thought arises, that's good, we'll see it and be aware of it. Knowing it in a cheerful way. On seeing happiness you go, on seeing suffering, heat, cold, This is Vipassana, insight, in small ways. This is being a meditator. If you are the one who is right or the one who is wrong, then you have taken birth and you are caught up, you are still deluded. There is no knowing. This quality of knowing is completely neutral. It can be applied to anything, it is absolutely fair and can be used with everything. We're not looking for faults, I don't like wrong, I like what is right, I like knowing, I don't like not knowing, it is not like this. If it's like that, the quality of knowing will not prosper, it gets cut and divided up, it gets separated all the time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Have you realized this? When you know, are you satisfied, and when you don't know, do you feel sad? When it's wrong you feel ill at ease, and when it's right you feel good. In the past, I've asked people, having short interviews with them at Sukato Forest Monastery. A lot of people used to come to practice. I asked a girl how things were going. She said, "Today it was a real hassle, I don't know what I was thinking, I was all tense. It wasn't like yesterday. Today I was really in a mess." I said to her, "This is not the way that a meditator talks, try saying it another way." She thought for a while and then said, "Today I saw the mind thinking, I saw it being tense." That's the way to talk. In the first version she was caught up, but in the latter she saw it, she became smart. The words I am, are no good, the words I see, are fine. Do you understand? What is it like for us here? Being or seeing? This is the point of separation. Insight, Vipassana, does the separating, at this point. Things are melting, being digested, dissolving into emptiness. Until there is no self. The way to arrive at the path and fruits of practice, is by this way. This exists within us. It shows us the way. The path is sure, the path is to watch, to see. The things that arise with the body or the mind, they arise so that we can watch and see. Do you see? Especially in the mind, there are lots of things that come up for us to look at. Has there been any gladness these last few days? Did you see it? Have you ever seen happiness? Have you ever seen suffering? These things come up for us to see them. What about satisfaction? Have you seen it? Dissatisfaction. This is the path. If one sees, then there is the path. The middle way. The way to get to the path and the fruits of practice is right here. At the point of seeing and not being caught up. Things arise in order for us to see. Some people may experience tension. Do you see tension? Some people may experience dullness. Do you see dullness? Others may see thought. Do you see it? One cannot grasp hold of the mind, there is just seeing and seeing. Develop this state of watching and seeing a lot. Develop the quality of seeing a lot. See the body moving, see the raising of the arm, see the lowering of the arm. Know and see. Knowing and seeing. When things arise that we don't want, things that we didn't intend, see that also. For example, thought, we didn't ask for it, it just arose. When we see thought, thought comes to an end. When we fix our awareness, the quality of knowing does not fail, as we might think. It is good to have thoughts arising. This way we get to see them, see the mind thinking. Sometimes many things come up, happiness, for example, and one is smiling inwardly. Don't grasp it, don't be it. Establish yourself on the specific characteristic of a meditator, watching, seeing, and not being. This is not wrong, and this way you won't waste time. But some people get caught up and waste lots of time. They get caught in joy, calmness, visions, defilements due to insight, analytical knowledge, and all sorts of things. They fall in the well of knowledge, and know this and that. One wastes lots of time this way. There is no need to know all that but see it. It is like coming here by car from another province. On arriving here there is no need to teach about the things that one has seen as one passed through. But some people will stop and rest when they get to a nice shady tree, others get sunburned. They get caught up and grasp onto the states that they come across. Just pass through. Don't want anything. Some people want this and that, right and wrong. This is desire, I want. This is not right. Especially when it comes to the mind, one cannot grasp hold of it, there is just seeing and seeing. When there is real suffering, the Dhamma becomes valuable. Maybe some people don't understand. Never mind. I'll just talk anyway. When you're in a bad way, you may search for it, and it may be useful at that time. Yesterday I talked with Luangpor Teean. He said, with what I'm saying I'm not giving people knowledge now, that may not be possible, but in another 20 to 30 years from now, people may come to realize it, or when they are down and out, because they have heard these teachings, they may look for a way out and practice until they know. For example, I say, don't be caught up, watch. Maybe, when we bear great hardship, we suffer and it hurts a lot, that we recollect what I said, watch it. And then we watch. The state of watching will probably help to solve the problem. When we come into contact with the state of watching, we might be released and liberated from that condition. We may be able to let go and put things down. At present, there may still be plenty of excitement for things, maybe we want this and that, there is no suffering yet. But when suffering arises, Dhamma will be valuable. So I'll talk just in case, so that you may hear it. But actually it is not beyond us to practice, and that is why we meditate. Intention is what classifies beings. Let's start from here. We watch the body, really feel and make contact with it. Sometimes, as we're watching the body, something comes to interfere and it makes us lose it, it incites delusion. Thought, for example, or drowsiness, and the various hindrances. 5 hindrances are listed by the Buddha, namely sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, and doubt and uncertainty as the last. It is our chance to see them, to see that which is wrong and that which is right. See both right and wrong. This is called having arrived on the path. The things that make us deluded, such as the hindrances and proliferating thoughts, will be seen by us. But some people go and get caught up in them. These things are not without value, they teach us valuable lessons when we get deluded. But some people judge delusion, considering it to be wrong. This is a cause for failure in practice. It is not like that. When there is delusion we give rise to knowing, this is a valuable lesson. In this way we get experience, the moment delusion is there once, we have one valuable experience. When many thoughts arise that induce delusion, or sleepiness, we know, and we relate to these things in the right way. These things then have value for us. It is like learning at school, the teacher teaches when the children make a mistake. He or she teaches how to write the letter A. When a child writes an E, the teacher sees that it is wrong and corrects it. This way the children learn to correct their mistakes at the time that they make them. This is valuable. But if a child makes a mistake and the teacher doesn't teach, it is bad fortune for that child. We are the same, when there is something wrong, and we are the one who is wrong, this is our misfortune. But when something is wrong and we see it, and we solve the problem, this is our good fortune. Mistakes are teachers. But what someone else says is wrong is another thing. As we practice here, we know our own mistakes. Whenever we see something wrong, we change it into right. When we see suffering, we change it into no suffering. When we see anger, we change it into non-anger. This is up to us. Others can't help us with it. Others do not see the thoughts in our minds. But we can see it. Other people don't see the anger, desire, delusion, defilements, craving, lust, and torpor in our minds, we have to see it ourselves. We might see these things in other people a little bit, from external expressions, but there is nothing we can do about it. But when we see these things in ourselves we can solve it. Try it out. Don't think you are powerless. As soon as sleepiness comes up, one yawns and drops off to sleep. This is called falling for it. If you get easily sleepy, then find some way to do something about it, don't just give in to it. Fight it a bit. Try looking up to the sky or the top of a tree, look around you, look far away in the distance. Imagine it is daytime, that's not the time to lie down. This is the time to practice, nighttime is the time to lie down. If it doesn't disappear, then get up and wash your face or take a shower, fight it a bit. Don't sit there nodding about. If that is the case, you've really lost it. We have to be awake. Open your eyes, fully, and be aware. You can do it. It can be changed, it can be solved. Meditation means to do good a lot. The words hapathipati in Pali language, and hapathipat in Thai, mean to practice. The prefix, hapatha, means to come back, to return or to solve. It is not a matter of doing sitting and walking meditation all day long, but never solving the problems. One thinks for an hour or two while practicing, that is not putting forth effort. It is laziness. A practitioner is one who changes wrong into right, delusion into non-delusion. Whenever there is delusion, change it immediately, this is useful. When something is wrong, change it, know it immediately, practice. To practice is to change. Meditation means to do good a lot, make that which is harmful into something good. This is called meditation. What is goodness? Awareness that we're training ourselves in is goodness. Perform this kind of goodness and do it a lot. Recitation is to keep a certain word in the mind, for example, Buddho, Sama Arahant, etc. In the past, I learned verses. I had to recite in order to become invulnerable. That is recitation. Sometimes we use the wrong word, we may call the recitation of the word Buddho meditation. It is not. It is recitation. As for the word meditation, it means to cut off, to just be aware, to feel movements with sati. Now is the time to practice, I've already explained how. Know what arises, don't know at any other place. In the beginning of the training, know at the body, not anywhere else. Take the body as the sign. Consider the body as the material or tool to produce awareness. The body is part of nature. When one sees the body, one has to see the mind too. A person consists of a body and a mind, and so this is what we learn from. These are our scriptures. The path, the fruits of practice and nibbana are right here. The hell realm, the hungry ghosts, and the thick-headed demons, are to be found right here. Realize this. Don't be fooled by things. Don't let the body or mind fool you.
May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease.